I want to welcome you to the regular business meeting of the Governing Board of the Chandler Unified School District. Today is November 10th, 2021. We just got done with a great presentation concerning our care center that really helps our students in need within the Chandler Unified School District and Chandler community. So, Mrs. Nye, could you start us off with our roll call, please? Here.
Here.
Here. Here.
Here.
Thank you, Mrs. Nye. Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and please remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. We will start with a little routine business. We have to approve the minutes of the October 27th, 2021 regular board meeting. If there are no additions or corrections, could I please get a motion?
Madam President, I make a motion to approve the minutes of the October 27th, 2021 regular board meeting as presented.
Second.
All those in favor of approving the minutes of the October 27th, 2021 regular board meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have to approve and ratify payroll and accounts payable vouchers. Could I get a motion, please?
Madam President, I make a motion to approve and ratify payroll and accounts payable vouchers.
Second.
All those in favor of approving and ratifying payroll and accounts payable vouchers, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Mr. Narducci, is there any correspondence this evening?
Madam President, there's no correspondence at this time.
Thank you. This evening we have Cole Del Monte of Basha High, who's going to give us a presentation about what is going on at Basha High. Cole? Welcome.
Excuse my voice. Oh, raspy.
Easier to use. Windows will read and scan this list.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, it's there, I promise.
You'll be fine.
Yeah, improv. Be perfect. Is there a number I can send it to? Gmail. You can send it to.
Okay, you can send it to me. So do I. Send it to me. MAA. TOUGH.
just
We're not logged in because we're off network. That's why.
what if you just log in like to the account that was on there,
I
and then I
cannot.
can just send it to that one?
Right now, we're not hitting the network.
Oh, so it's just the internet's
Yeah,
not
it's
working?
just the internet. Yeah, unfortunately. Sorry about that. It's the.
While we're working on that, could we get the portable microphone? And we're going to jump ahead to celebrating Native American Heritage Month. And we're going to go ahead and jump that presentation ahead. And so, Dr. Salou, could you grab the, I believe there's a portable microphone next to the podium there, or on the podium. Great, and if you would like to, we'll come back to you, Cole, as soon as hopefully we can get the technology figured out here. So, Dr. Salou.
Madam President, member of the board, the cabinet, Mr. Nazuchi, our guest, it's our delight to celebrate our indigenous brothers and sisters of this land. Tonight it's my delight to invite a young lady in the district under the direction of Dr. Sarah Galedi in federal programs. Tia, gonna come and share. Each month, each celebration, we pause and remember. It is remembering that we can move forward. So Tia, I give you the podium.
Achehet. Yat shake do shidene. Madam President, members of the board. She ashihin ishle. Bilagana bashichin. Bashbach dashiche ado bilagana dashinelle. Twidineshet de nasha ado Chandler de kehashte. Yat she Tia Gramzinski inishya. Good evening, everybody. My name is Tia Gramzinski. I'm Salt Clan, born for the white people. I am so pleased to be here with you all tonight. My family is originally from Kayenta, Arizona, but I currently live in Chandler. So that's my introduction in Navajo translated into English. So I'll pass the mic to Samaya, who's going to introduce herself in her native language.
Guati helpa she chatsani atatsuni shawit hanu aku chimoro. Hello, my name is Samaya Kedagwa. I come from the Acoma Pueblo people in New Mexico, as well as the Chamorro people of Guam. I am also a junior at Perry High School.
I would like to acknowledge the traditional, ancestral, sacred territory of the 22 Native nations that have inhabited this land for centuries, which include the Acamel O'odham and Peeposh Indian communities, on which we are learning, working, and gather today. With gratitude, we honor their land and celebrate the resilience and strength that all Indigenous people show worldwide. So I'm going to deliver a proclamation of the Chandler Unified School District of the City of Chandler, Arizona, proclaiming the month of November 1st to November 30th as Native American Heritage Month. Whereas Native American and Indigenous heritage is an essential part of American history and should be studied throughout the year and since 1990 in the United States of America, November 1st through November 30th has been designated as the month for recognizing and celebrating the contributions and influence of those with Native American and Indigenous heritage. Whereas the vision of the Chandler Unified School District is an environment where our diverse population is a strength and a spirit of equity, collaboration, and response permeates our community. Now, therefore, I, Tia Gramzinski, Indigenous Engagement Specialist in the Chandler Unified School District, do hereby proclaim the month of November 1st through November 30th, 2021 as Native American Heritage Month, and I urge all Chandler and Arizona residents to celebrate the rich history, culture, and contributions of those of Native American and Indigenous cultures and communities. And I want to especially thank Dr. Adama Salou for giving us the floor last year during Native American Heritage Month, and this year again for creating this space. So I'm going to pass the mic back to Samaya, who's going to deliver a statement to you all. So thank you for having us tonight.
Thank you. In my culture, I have always been taught to introduce myself and my accomplishments in my language first, and then translate it into my English. I used to believe this is so we wouldn't forget our language, but I now understand it is to empower myself and to my people, because I have learned that my words and my language have power to them. While attending Perry High School, I have been involved in the Indigenous Students Club. During my freshman year, I was student representative, and this year, as a junior, I am honored to be the club's president. Not only am I part of the Indigenous Students Club, I am also president of the Future Health Professionals Club, also known as HOSA, as well as part of the Perry High School's girls' women's basketball team. Speaking our Indigenous language honors our ancestors because it's an indicator of our resilience. Despite our generational trauma through forces of assimilation, colonization, the implementations of boarding schools, land assignments, blood quantum laws, and much more, we continue to exemplify our strengths by sharing our stories, speaking our languages, cultivating our sacred lands, and preserving our ceremonies and traditions. I am here this evening to speak on behalf of my Indigenous peers and to acknowledge that the entire month of November is Native American Heritage Month. We proudly celebrate our heritage because we designate with the 22 federally recognized tribes in Arizona, 574 federally recognized American Indians and Alaska Native tribes and villages in this country, and various cultures throughout the world. We represent our respective tribal affiliations, our people, our culture, our ancestors and their teachings, and Mother Earth. We are among your students, teachers, administrators, facility and student caregivers, and friends. We are the land you stand on and the crops you replenish your bodies with. We exist and we are thriving today. As an Indigenous person and student of the school district, I would like to see my community respectfully acknowledge us as Indigenous people. It can start with our education, educating oneself, and take place where students spend 7 hours a day, 5 days a week, our schools. On behalf of my Indigenous community, we invite you to celebrate Native American Heritage Month with us. Our existence is a miracle. We are grateful to honor this together as a Chandler Unified School District community. Dawa e gulme hashame pe'echa. That's it for me.
Thank you so much for coming this evening and issuing the proclamation and telling us a little bit about, Samaya, what you're doing at your school. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, we'll have Cole Del Monte. Go ahead and it looks like you got things working.
Yeah, I could use them.
Super fun. The internet goes down right before the presentation. There we go.
GSC account.
Gmail.
No, GSC account.
Oh, it's on my Gmail.
GSC account. Can you, you don't have to GSC account. How about you still have it?
I can just share it to my GC account.
Okay, yeah, just send it to your GSC account. Okay, send it to the GSC account.
Yeah, I got it. Okay, third time's a charm. Let's go. Yeah, it didn't send though, so don't clap yet. Okay. Well, we get a preview of what being a Basha student looks like as far as the PowerPoints that we have to do for school. Wow, this is really not working.
You want to send it to my account? Do you want to send it to my account?
I can't log on to my Gmail account.
Oh, you could not go into it.
I mean, it's on my Gmail.
You can't get it on your emails if you want to.
This one. Yeah, it says it's an editor.
What does it say?
Oh, wait. Maybe?
Here you go.
No. Maybe Google Drive. Let's try that one. Oh, wait. Oh, it's gonna... There it is. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Promise you, that's not a representation of the Basha education.
Cole, you know what? We've all experienced this. Trust me, we get it. Especially some of us old folks.
Yeah. Okay, so I just want to thank all of you guys for your patience and for being here today to hear about what it's really like to be in a CUSD school. And at the end, I'm going to talk about some goals that have kind of affected what we've gone through. But first, I'm just going to go through some of the events that we've been happening and really just what it's like to be on campus. So our very first event on campus was our senior sunrise. It was such a fun event. All the seniors got to be there early, and they it was like Stugo was there at like 4 a.m. or something to set up before the sun rose, and we all took pictures, played games. It was a super fun time. Just an example of an event that we were able to do this year and weren't able to do last year fully. So big steps for that. There was a huge turnout. I do warn you, a lot of these pictures are me because I made this PowerPoint. So you'll be seeing a lot of me in different Spirit Weeks and at different events. And a lot of my friends, so they're getting a real shout out right now. Okay, our next one was Club Fair. This is a super cool thing that Basha does. I'm sure other CUSD schools do it as well. Every club gets a booth. They hand out candy if they're a cool club like Stugo. and they'll advertise events, show what's going on, just so the CUSD students at Basha can really get involved. And I mean, I can't even tell you how much it means to be a part of something on campus, and just an opportunity to see all the different clubs like that is so awesome. So, yep. The senior assembly, so Jostens came in and showed all of us what to do as far as graduating. So we actually all walked the stage this year, and in person too, hopefully. So this was a super fun event, super informative. This was actually the first kind of indoor meeting that we had in a very long time. So that was cool. Fall sports assembly, outdoor assembly, you see me there again. This is to shout out all of our fall sports. We had performances from our dance companies, Pom, Cheer, the California Dreamin' homecoming theme was revealed. These are actually really good pictures. I did not take these. Credit to yearbook staff for this one. It's a super fun event. I mean, as an athlete at Basha too, I can just say that walking out at the assembly is honestly like my favorite high school memory ever. So the fact that we were able to bring these back, even outdoor, was great, and everyone had a lot of fun. You can see all the work Stugo puts in just on the balloon arch and poster alone there. We were there, our call time was like 5:15, just to set this up, and it was a great time. It was a little hot for the mascot though. We got through 2 before the assembly was over. This was one thing that we tried new this year to raise money for our events. We did Soka Senior, so everyone, you could pay $1 and dump a bucket of water on a senior lunch. I promise I was there. I was not in the picture, but I was there. And I had broken my arm at that point, so I had a little bag over my cast. But we raised a bunch of money, and it was just so fun. We dumped our Stugo teacher with a bucket of water. That one was $20, not $1, but we raised a bunch of money, and it was honestly just a fun environment. Like a lot of the times we talk about in Stugo how we cannot just make events that'll make money, but it's really about the morale of the school and how we can just have a fun high school. And especially with COVID, how a lot of us have had that kind of cut down. It's really cool to just have, like, there was a huge crowd of people around. It was just a fun memory, and that's really what it's about, is just creating those memories. Tailgates was also new this year. And I'm going to talk about this at the end also. It's a great experience if you're not the most school spirited, but you just want to go hang out. If you don't love football, you don't love the little packed in student section, which you'll see in a second, you can come, you can play cornhole. There's me in the back playing cornhole. Just play spike ball. It was just a really fun way to get everyone ready for the game and just increase that school spirit. Here is the student section that I was talking about. This week we were rated #1 student section in Arizona by some guy on Twitter. So, but we did it, #1. I don't know how they do that, but we were #1. This is the Bear Den. That poster got destroyed. Okay. Homecoming decorations. We have some great artists in the class, and this is such a great way to just get everyone excited for homecoming, first homecoming in a while. And this actually, I'll talk about that when I get to the slide. Can't get ahead of myself. That California Dreamin' sign, that wall is about, I don't remember the dimensions, but that's made up of individual pieces of tissue paper that are put into chicken wire. This whole thing took and this isn't even all of them. We do all the buildings upstairs and downstairs, and we also hold a door decorating contest for teachers and their 4th hours to decorate their own doors. So this took about, I don't know, 20 hours at least to get all this done, and it was just super fun. It's really just something different. It's definitely an American thing to come to school and your school is decorated and there's a football game. It's just a really cool experience to see all that. California Dreamin', so we had the different California locations. Spirit Week, here's me again a lot. So we got a Spirit Week that week, and then we had an assembly. This was just to advertise, and we did our royalty stuff. There's me. I did not win, though, unfortunately. But it was just really, really cool. Another assembly, so that was awesome. Played a lot of games. Some of these are interesting things that I would never wear to school now that I'm looking at them. This is confidence. The carnival was awesome. This is our map, just shows how detail that has to be, and this is just the map. It was like a 10-page little report that we gave out to all the clubs. We'd smash a car here in that we can see some of our student council members in there. This is Stugo after. I also wasn't in that picture. They just don't like me in pictures, but it's fine, I guess. Here's one of our, and I'll talk about this at the end also, we had a special needs adapted booth so that any student could come to the carnival and participate. And that's Mr. Reichel, our principal, getting a glass of lemonade poured by one of our students. Homecoming dance, also me. But in 20 years as a school, this is the most Basha has made on a homecoming. And it's the most people we've ever had in attendance. So great night. It was awesome. Took forever to take apart the tissue paper wall after it was done, but it was super fun. Pictures were great. That's just something I really missed while we weren't there, is having a school dance, which is something we definitely take for granted, but awesome that we were able to have one this year. Okay, so here's Basha as a council. One of my personal main goals, and something that we've included in the council, is inclusivity. Any chance that we get, we'll have adapted opportunities for our special needs community. So on our carnival, we partnered with a local nonprofit who set up a switch adapted booth. So any kid, regardless of mobility, could participate and have that fun, have that high school experience that we're all always talking about. And we are also hosting the CUSD Christmas party, which is upcoming in December. And we also, another part of inclusivity is opportunities for everyone on campus. So if you don't love Spirit, you can still go to the tailgate and sit in the back and have some hot dog that was grilled on the back of someone's car, or not, if you make wise decisions. But you can just come, and you can enjoy yourself and enjoy high school without needing to be that kind of, because it's confidence. It takes bravery to show up wearing pool floaties to school. So we really just want to include everyone. Also with assemblies, you can just sit back and watch. You don't have to participate. It's more fun if you do. My second part is community involvement and appreciation, and I have it here. This one is credit to Jaden Ocampo, the vice president. She is huge on partnering with local nonprofits, partnering with local businesses, especially coming out of COVID-19, just any way that we can show appreciation to our community. A lot of our events are open to the public, so you can bring your kids, you can bring your family, and we reach out to our junior highs. They will come and come to our events, and they've shadowed us before. So while we ran an assembly, we had Payne Junior High on the sidelines watching, and it really just shows, it gets them excited for high school, but it also helps them just see what it means to be in Stugo, what it means to be a leader on campus. I mean, we're all dressed up in our gold for the Gold Rush Assembly, and those kids see that, and I think that's huge that we can just kind of break that, I'm forgetting the word, but I don't know. Basically that it's cool to dress up. It's cool to have fun in high school. It's cool to participate in Spirit Weeks. Whoever says it's lame, it's not a part of our concern. Yes, so I think that all these events were great, but I can't stand up here and take credit. I definitely need to give shout outs to the amazing Basha High Student Council, which I will now introduce. Okay, we have DJ Elmaskor, our student body publicity manager, Anok Ambadipudi, our senior class spirit commissioner, Kaylee Barger, our student body business manager, Haley Blinkle, our junior class member at large, Aaliyah Brown, our senior class vice president, Grady Campbell, our student body spirit commissioner, Jackson Carmichael, our sophomore member at large, Bree Clough, our junior class vice president, Kaya Kreider, our freshman class vice president, Lily Foreman, our junior class member at large, Dylan Galvez, our student body secretary, Ava Gilbert, our senior class vice president, Patrick Green, our sophomore class secretary. Sorry, those two were sophomore class. Oh, sorry guys, my S looks like a J. Joey Jacobson, our junior class spirit commissioner, Carmela Johnson, our junior class president, Curdy Joseph, our sophomore class member at large, Noah Kirkendall, our sophomore class president, Avery Koperniak, our sophomore class member at large, Liberty Coons, sorry Liberty. Our freshman class secretary, Alexis Liu, our senior class member at large, Dylan Lucas, our freshman vice president, Isabel Madrid, our senior class president, Ian Martis, our student body historian, Caleb McDonald, our junior class publicity manager, Gage Melton, our freshman class publicity manager. Kennedy Melton, our senior class publicity manager. Ava Nunemacher, our sophomore class secretary. Jaden Ocampo, student body vice president. Hannah Olson, our sophomore class publicity manager. Sorry. Madison Ramsey, our freshman class president. Carly Saban, our senior class member at large. Lena. Sorry. Lena is our foreign exchange student from Germany, and I will not be violating her name, so. Our senior class member at large. Hannah Shamba, our sophomore class member at large. Jayla Taft, our student body sports coordinator. Hallie Trias, our junior class member at large. Tia Watersmith, our senior class spirit commissioner, and Carly Uris, Tia, sophomore class spirit commissioner, and then Carly Uris, our sophomore class spirit commissioner. Sorry if I butchered your name or position. I promise I know who you are. Okay, guys, give a round of applause for Basha's counsel. Okay.
Cole,
Thank
do
you
you
guys
have
for
an?
letting me speak. I'm sorry that took like 25 minutes for me to get onto the computer. But thank you guys for listening and for getting an insight on what it's actually like to be at a CUSD school. Thank you.
Cole, did you? Cole, do you have an advisor here tonight?
No, she could not be here tonight.
Okay.
But it is Mrs. Campbell.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, and I want to also thank all of the Stuga members from Basha. You guys do a great job at your school, and keeping that spirit alive and keeping kids involved in your school and including everyone. So I think that's a great goal to have, and keep up the great work. Thank you so much for coming this evening, and have a great evening.
Thank you.
We also have this evening Diane Hale, who is the principal at Tarwater Elementary, and she has brought some students with her this evening. There was a really exciting event at Tarwater, and I guess it was a week and a half ago? A week ago? 2 weeks ago now? Okay. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. And we're excited. She's going to show us.
Like to be a place where everybody is learning, teachers, students, even our community where everybody's learning. And this was an opportunity for us to learn about the world beyond. We have a parent who's very involved with ham radio as a hobby, and he approached us and said, we could have contact with an International Space Station and talk to astronauts. Talk about building excitement. I haven't met anybody who is not excited about space, and so that's something that was so universal for us. Every student on our campus is excited about it. Every parent is excited about it, and I've got district people excited about it, and so it's been a great way for us to infuse so many skills that students are learning. Certainly science, obviously, but writing has been a focus for us. So students are writing about it. They're writing good questions. Students are reading about it. We've been speaking about it. And so we're really getting all the skills together, and it's really unified us.
We did some research and put together materials and lessons for our team. So like I planned for the third grade team lessons that we could do with our students. We've been working on the planets. We've been working on what's in just our solar system. We're going over the moon, asteroids, and then we brought it into like the space station. So we worked at the solar system and then went into just the International Space Station to what we're going to be communicating with and how they train, what it's like to live on the International Space Station, how they eat, how they work out, what they do, all those things. The kids are really interested in it.
The skills of astronauts and like the personalities they need helps them a lot in space. Like they need to know how to do teamwork because you can't just get into space all by yourself. They have to learn how to be responsible. You need to know a lot about the traits astronauts have to help you out in your future.
We really wanted to see how all students could get more interested in science. I even told the students myself, I don't think I'm a person who would like to go to space. I don't think I would, but I'd love to be part of the problem solving that goes into how do we get somebody up there, or what are the questions we're still asking.
I think it's a great idea to connect our students with the outside world, with things that they can do when they possibly grow up, with job opportunities when they're older.
I'm thinking about being an engineer and architect, so what we've been learning about space and like the format of the ISS is really gonna help me achieve my dream. So I have a brother and two sisters. My brother's in my grade, he's my twin. And my sisters are in kindergarten and second. So we're all learning more about the ISS. It's gonna be like really cool to communicate with the astronauts actually on the ISS. I'm super excited to talk to the astronauts because we can learn a lot from what they've been doing out in space.
We've really used it as an example to talk about expeditionary behaviors. NASA calls it that. And so we've really talked about what are expeditionary behaviors for a school year? What do we need to do to be effective communicators? How do we appreciate other people's perspectives? And those are all things that NASA talks about for their astronauts. Maybe you won't go to space and be an astronaut, but no matter where you work, you're gonna need these skills that astronauts have of stamina and sticking with something and persistence and learning to work together. And this year we've been saying we're going beyond, and we're so excited to see what's next. So I can't wait to ask astronauts questions and go beyond. Well, thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Mr. Narducci. Thank you for having us tonight. That was a little preview prior to our contact. So on October 27th, we had contact with the International Space Station, and we had about 12 to 13 minutes to ask questions to astronaut Shane Kimbrough while he was floating above in the International Space Station. This was a project with conjunction with ARIS, the organization. It stands for Amateur Radio on the International Space Station. And we have some parent who's interested in ham radio, as I said in the video, working at NXP. They have a ham radio club. So we worked with them. We actually applied for this in 2019, and we were accepted for contact in early August of 2020. You know what happened then. I don't need to talk about that. So we had to cancel, and they actually said that we needed to reapply. So we did reapply. We resubmitted our application, and then luckily we're accepted again for the contact this year. So I want to just give some thanks, and then I want to introduce you to some of my team. So just again, thanks to NXP and their ham radio club, certainly our parent community and all that they did in preparation for the event, and leading up to it was a lot of activities. It wasn't just about the contact. Certainly the teaching staff, they built so many extraordinary lessons that tied into the curriculum in so many creative ways. I was just impressed every single day. And CUSD's tech team, particularly Michael Holland, who's behind here, his team created the video and did so much for the day of the contact to make it possible. So with me today is Sophia Limoko, who's a second grade teacher, and then I also have Graham Dawkins, sixth grade teacher here, and then Anna and Amaya Falcon, fourth graders, PJ Gallo, a sixth grader, and Easton Sutton, a sixth grader. And I'm going to have them tell you a little bit about the experience from their perspective. And we have a little slideshow to play in the background. So, oops, wrong one. All right, Mrs. Limoko?
Thank you, Ms. Hale. Thank you to the board for having us present on this historic moment that we're sharing. Again, my name is Sophia Limhogo. I teach second grade at Tarwater, and before I taught second grade, I was the campus STEM teacher. I'm also a lifelong Star Trek fan, so you can imagine this experience is the dream of my life that I didn't know I had. I'm going to cut this short because I would like to give our students an opportunity. I would like for them to be spotlighted and their experience and their learning to be spotlighted. But there were several committees on our campus that helped put this into motion. Ms. Hale's already mentioned our parents. Our parents are a big part of our campus and part of what makes Tarwater special. One of the committees was our Night Under the Stars committee. And that's an event that helped get our school and our community excited and better prepared for the contact. We had Eris there helping us to understand the ham radio and how it was going to communicate with the ISS. We also had the Cub Scouts there teaching us about the physics of getting astronauts to space. Our librarian, Mrs. Shute, had a book fair with space-themed books, and we had local astronomers come out to share their high-powered telescopes, which had young and old alike gasping over seeing the moons of Jupiter and the beauty of Saturn. There were so many other STEM activities that night, and then included that night were grade-level presentation boards that showed what teachers did in their classrooms for Far Out Fridays. Our teaching staff also participated in a committee where we helped plan activities for each grade level to explore the science, math, and technology involved in space exploration. So these learning activities took place on Fridays. On any given Far Out Friday, you could see coding or rockets being powered by balloons or straws or the power of chemical reactions. You saw in the video, third graders were gaining a deeper understanding of the vastness of space by spreading out over the grassy courtyard in ratios equivalent to the distances between the sun and our solar system's planets. They were very surprised, and so were my second graders as we walked by, at just how much space is between the sun and where we are. Ms. Hale also led a book open to all staff members, and we read An Astronaut's Guide to Life on Earth by astronaut Chris Hadfield. Mr. Hadfield shared something in his book that I shared with my second grade class. He said that he knew he wanted to go to space from the time he was in 5th grade. When my students heard this, after having experienced weeks of learning about space and actually seeing the moons of Jupiter and hearing the voice of astronaut Shane Kimbrough from hundreds of miles away in space, my students realized that they could start impacting their own futures right now, starting in our very own classrooms. It's been an inspiration to be part of this moment of learning on our campus, and I'd like to give it over to PJ to share his perspective of this moment in history.
Okay, thank you. So, hi, my name is PJ Gallo. First, I want to say thank you for letting us speak at the CUSD board meeting. So, me and 3 other students are going to go over how the ISS contact went. The astronaut who we got to talk to is Shane Kimbrough. The ISS contact was the reason that our fall festival became Night Under the Stars. Night Under the Stars had multiple informational posters. They also had the ham radio team come out and explain how it was going to work, how we're going to communicate with the ISS, and the logistics of how the radio communication and other interesting information involving the ham radio and the ISS contact. I think that the ISS experience was good thing all over the school. It got a lot of kids interested in space and the ISS. It gave teachers good lessons in science and space, and personally, I think it was really cool because I got to do some research on the ISS, and I have made 4 presentations to my class on the ISS. We got to submit questions to ask astronauts. Being able to talk to an astronaut was really cool. His answers gave me some information I did not know before. Overall, the experience was good, with one minor issue that day. The video's sound did not work. The next day, they managed to get the sound to work and we were able to watch it in class. Even now, people still have an interest in space and the space station. The ISS contact was a good thing because it was a treat for the whole school after the COVID pandemic. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Anna, and this is my sister Amaya, and we're here to speak about our school's contact with the International Space Station and everything we did to prepare for it. We learned about the contact at the beginning of 3rd grade, and now we are in 4th grade. Ever since the start of 4th grade, we have done Far Out Fridays. During Far Out Fridays, we did crafts and activities such as cereal bone density and coffee filter planets. On the Friday before the contact, we had Far Out Friday as usual, but we came back to school for Night Under the Stars. At Night Under the Stars, there were games, food trucks, face painting, a photo booth, and most excitingly, a telescope, where you could see Saturn and Jupiter's moons. The day of the contact was very exciting. Everyone brought blankets and towels because after the contact, we all had a picnic lunch. When we were all settled into our seats, our teacher turned on the video, and despite some technical difficulties, it was amazing. We learned that the astronauts grew peppers in space and used them to make space tacos. When we learned about the contact in 3rd grade, our mom encouraged us to write a letter to Mark Kelly. So we did. We never got a response, but he definitely heard about the letter. Because in a video of the contact, Senator Kelly sent a video to the school where he talked about his time on the ISS. Thank you for having us speak at this school board meeting. Have a good night.
Hi, my name is Easton Sutton. During the ISS contact, we got to talk to an astronaut in school. This experience was probably one of the coolest things that has happened at our school, and it was really exciting for me and my friends. It has been 1 to 2 years in the making for this contact, and it has been very anticipated this year. It was sad that it didn't happen last year, but it happened now, so that's pretty good. I think this has taught us a lot more about space and life in space. This probably made a lot of kids at the school want to become people that work at NASA and want to work as astronauts. Overall, this experience was amazing, and thank you for letting me speak. Good night.
Thank you so much. What a fantastic experience for the Tarwater students. And thank you, students, for speaking to us tonight. We can see that you guys had a lot of fun with this, too, it looks like. So I know at least one other board member up here is very interested in Star Trek also, type stuff. But I will say this. My husband is an amateur astronomer, and I've gotten very into astronomy too. And when we heard about you guys contacting the International Space Station, we were very, very excited, and we're disappointed that the sound wasn't working that day, but we have gone back and watched. But it's an incredible experience for all of you. And what I really love is the fact that we were able to get the community to assist with this and bring experiences to the students that they normally would not necessarily have, or that it would really take somebody to move mountains within the educational community to do it by themselves. So we truly appreciate community members and businesses and clubs in the community that help our students to realize some of these additional learning experiences that they probably would never have without them. So thank you so much to both, to everyone who was involved with this. Does our board have any questions? Well, thank you so much and have a great evening. Okay. Our next is our citizen comments, and this evening I'm going to start off by reading a portion of a resolution that our board approved several years ago. The governing board and administration condemn acts of intolerance and denounce them as contradictory to the core values of Chandler Unified School District. Indeed, Chandler Unified School District denounces hate speech defined as communication that carries no meaning other than the expression of hatred for some group, especially in circumstances where the communication is likely to provoke violence. These are an incitement to hatred primarily against a group of persons defined in terms of race, ethnicity, national origin, gender, religion, sexual orientation, and the like. We express deep support for those hurt and make it clear that such behavior is unacceptable. All of our students and staff and each of our community members deserve to feel safe and valued at all times. Mr. Locke, would you please present the comments that were received online?
I sure will. Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Narducci. As a courtesy, we provide an opportunity for the public to submit citizen comments electronically on any topic. We've heard from 10 people since our last board meeting 2 weeks ago. Our feedback centered on 4 topics this time: health and safety, mask mitigation strategies, curriculum and instructional programs, and governance and governing board. Now, submitting comments electronically provides our governing board members time to read and prepare prior to the meeting. This format also provides the board an opportunity to ask clarifying questions to the administration. You have the submissions verbatim for your consideration. They're also available on the website for public review.
Thank you, Mr. Locke. And to let the public know, we're going to be doing things just a little bit differently this meeting. Mr. Locke has the requests for speaking for this evening. We have 18 individuals, he told me, and our individuals will have 1 minute, and I will turn this over to Mr. Locke, and he will be calling up all of our individuals.
Thank you, Barbara Mosden. During public comment, members of the board may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431-01H, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to review the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date. The board president reserves the right to ensure the speakers present on topics within the governing board's jurisdiction. Everyone is asked to present their comments in a respectful and courteous manner. Profanity of threats of harm will not be tolerated. Our first speaker tonight wants to speak on hate speech, Stephanie Martinez of Chandler. You have 1 minute, Stephanie. That one.
Good evening. My name's Stephanie. I'm a parent of 2 CUSD students. I was up here a few months ago pointing out the discrepancy between the YRBS surveillance system estimates for hate speech and bullying among high school students and then what CUSD actually reports. And just in case you guys don't remember, it's okay. It's about 3,000 students that experience this in Chandler Unified High Schools. There are 8 that are reported. Back at that time, I was requesting the district to publicly recommit to equity with a focus on student climate and creating pathways to report these incidents. Since then, I've watched this meeting evolve, and we had the incident last week. And this is a setting where decorum is expected, and the fact that that happens here is really problematic.
15 seconds.
The room applauded anti-Semitism, and it took the district almost 24 hours to issue a statement, and that's unacceptable. There's a lesson here. The people in this room are a microcosm of our community. The terrible words that were said here are also said on...
Time has expired.
Next is Matt Salmon of Mesa, who wants to talk about ASBA and NSBA.
Thank you so much, members of the board and Superintendent Narducci. Appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Matt Salmon. I'm a former member of Congress that represented this area and a near lifetime resident of the East Valley. And most importantly, I'm a father of children that have graduated from the Mesa school system, and my grandchildren are in the public school system in Mesa now. My daughter is on the school board at the Mesa School District. I'm just here tonight to deliver just a few remarks about recently the Arizona School Boards Association and their attempts to suppress the free speech rights of concerned parents across this country. You're no doubt aware that the National School Boards Association sent a letter to President Biden urging the FBI to censure mom and dads who attend school board meetings to
15
express...
seconds.
I'm sorry?
15 seconds.
Time's up?
Nope.
15.
No, I was saying 15 seconds.
Oh, okay. Well, I just want to wrap up by saying that freedom of speech is a hallmark of everything that we believe. And I appreciate recently the Chandler School Board getting involved to get rid of the national connection fees. But I think much more than that has to be done. And I would hope you would speak out against the National School Boards
Time
Association.
has expired.
Next is Constant Lepage of Chandler to speak about school.
Hi, I will try to go super, super fast, and I'm a little nervous. I am a parent that lives here in Chandler. My kids are in the Chandler School District, or one still is, and we vote for you guys. So we actually are part of this community that votes for you guys. Recently, in the beginning of the school year, in my son's APUSH class, they were read a letter in the beginning of the year that pretty much said, whatever happened in history is not your fault. You shouldn't feel guilty or like they had anything to do with it. They are not to blame. And I'm wondering, are we raising a bunch of whiny crybabies? What the heck is going on? There is no CRT in our schools. Our children need to be taught real and honest history. Whether it's pretty or it's ugly, they have to know the truth. I'm grateful to the amazing history teachers my kids have had.
15
here.
seconds.
They have learned so much more about our country than I ever did. History class is not a civics class. It is a factual-based class on our history. History repeats itself. We must know the truth. We all must.
Time has expired.
Next is Nicole Idson, speaking of Chandler, speaking on item number 1004.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Idson. No, not Nicole Chandler. I want to thank the board for voting no on the NSBA. Thank you. You're supporting parents by voting no. Policy agenda 1004 is talking about the ASBA new policy recommendations that you are putting into our schools for the family life education. Currently, it states that schools should promote, honor, and respect of homogeneous heterosexual marriages. Line D, that is being struck out. Also, nothing shall be included in the course of study of instruction that promotes homosexual lifestyle, portrays homosexuality as a positive alternate lifestyle, and suggests that some method of sex or safe methods of
15
homosexual
seconds.
sex. That is also being struck out. You guys are striking out the K and changing it to a 5. That's great. That means kindergartners will not be getting sex education. Thank you very much.
Next is Kurt Roars of Chandler to talk about the curriculum.
My name is Kurt Roars. I'm a parent in this district. I speak to you tonight regarding prohibition of controversial teaching in this district. This is sometimes referred to as CRT and sometimes by other names, but what is titled does not matter. It is the content we should be concerned about. Here is how that content is defined. That teachers may not allow instruction in the following concepts: that one race is inherently morally and intellectually superior to another race, that an individual by virtue of the individual's race is inherently racist, whether consciously or unconsciously, that an individual should be discriminated against or receive adverse treatment based on their race, that an individual's moral character is determined by their race, that an individual by virtue of their race bears responsibility for actions committed by other members of the same race.
15 seconds.
The individual should feel discomfort, guilt, or anguish, or any other sort of distress or an academic achievement is not based on race. This is a true anti-racism statement. It's easily understood. No reasonable person would want to have these concepts presented.
Time has expired.
Next is Krista McKinney from Chandler to talk about anti-racism.
Hi, my name is Krista McKinney. I'm a parent of 2 in Chandler. I live in Chandler and I work in Chandler. First of all, masks work, so to prevent the spread of COVID, please listen to trained medical experts and mandate masks in school. Second, I'm not entirely sure what critical race theory is. It appears nowhere in the CUSD curriculum. I do know that I want my children to learn real history. Teaching about westward expansion cannot gloss over the diseases, wars, genocide, and broken promises that created the empty land for white pioneers. Teaching about slavery must include kidnapping, abuse, and murder that goes hand in hand with enslavement. It will be upsetting to any person who has any empathy to learn about these horrible events, but unless you believe that they are okay, there is no shame associated with it. These topics, of course, need to be taught at an age-appropriate level. Luckily, we have professional educators who are well qualified to design an appropriate curriculum. The board has a responsibility to the school community and the community in general. If people are using board meetings as a way to indulge in hate speech,
15
you
seconds.
need to cut the mic, condemn their statements real time, and remove them from the meeting in future meetings. An email condemnation while still allowing a platform for hate speech is not good enough. Thank you.
Next is Carrie Good from Gilbert to talk about the override election.
Sorry. Hi, my name is Carrie Good. I'm a resident of CUSD, a mom and a grandmother. First of all, I want to thank the board for denouncing the hate speech from the last meeting. As a Jewish person, I very much appreciate that show of support. Frankly, the hostility in the room last time was alarming. The school board members and the staff are dealing with running a very complex system under the most challenging circumstances of our lifetimes. The last thing they need is a room full of people harassing them over this obsession with critical race theory and indoctrinating of students. The vast majority of the people that live in this school district are pretty happy with the schools their kids attend. And I know because I talked to my neighbors. I saw those bright, happy faces from Castile last
15
meeting.
seconds.
You might be a majority in this room, but you are clearly just a loud, organized minority that is trying to get attention for your cause, whatever that might be. Leave these folks alone and let them do their jobs. And congratulations on the overrides.
Time has expired.
Next is Julie Ray from Chandler to speak about hateful speech.
Hello, Madam President and board members. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Just have a short statement. What happens in the board, can you hear me? Okay. What happens in the board meeting is a reflection on what happens in our classrooms. When individuals are allowed to come into these meetings and espouse hate, to spread disinformation, others will see that and feel that this is acceptable behavior on campus in the classroom. You, the board members, need to set an example to show us parents, students, teachers that you have our backs. I am a Jewish person and I appreciate your support, and I was very concerned about last week, but it's not just about last week. This is an ongoing issue and that's why I'm here. I know that you ran for office because you care about children. Now is the time to stand up and be a leader, even when it's not easy. If you want our
15
district to truly be a place where children can grow and achieve their potential, they must be safe and accepted regardless of religion, race, gender, sexual orientation, and ability. Please take a stand and do what you were elected to do. Thank you.
Next is Rebecca Masterson, Board Responsibilities, and Rebecca's from Chandler.
Hello, I have 2 children in the Chandler School District, and I'm addressing the board today. Dear members of the board, I come to you today to implore you to use your voter-given power to actively direct our district toward respect and dignity for all of its families. We are experiencing an embarrassing, diminishing trend of non-professionals, non-district dwellers, and general political muckrakers using these board meetings as their personal platform to spew misinformation and hate speech. I respect the rights of people to speak. I especially respect your rights to speak, your obligation to speak. We are facing a climate where a few stray moral bankrupts have tried to flex their perceived supremacy on our otherwise beautifully diverse and rich educational environment. Board, you need to shout down loudly any bigotry. It's your job. We have elected you. Please speak for us.
Next is Jake Bennett from Phoenix to talk about anti-Semitic hate speech at the last meeting. Jake.
Hi, thank you. I'm here representing the Israeli American Coalition for Action, which is a sister organization to the Israeli American Council, IAC. I want to start by thanking the board chair for reading the mission statement on diversity and inclusion against hate. It's a powerful statement. I think you should use it more often. I wanted to say I have two suggestions with regards to what happened 2 weeks ago. One is perhaps in the future, when something like that occurs, you could pause the proceedings after the person finishes speaking and read that statement again. I think as often as you need to read it, it's a powerful statement every time. A second suggestion proposal, the IAC will be running on January 25th a symposium for educators. Thank you. On Israel and the Jewish people, our history and culture. And we invite, it's a free symposium for anyone, an educator or staff administration to attend, and you're invited. Thank you.
Next is Ruth Jones from Chandler to speak about test scores.
I had to cut this down, so I hope it makes sense. We live in a diverse city. Our schools show this clearly. In the affluent neighborhoods, grades are good. In our gifted schools, grades are great. But if you're not lucky enough to live in those boundaries, you're on your own. Or as in the case of some students, if you have educational needs beyond the norm, you're left behind. A board member told me directly that you guys get high scholarship dollars and that proves that the district is doing well. There are students that do well, and those scholarships reflect on them. But what about the students that could be part of that group with a little bit of a push? With support and encouragement, they can reach those dreams. I have daughters that had a 3.6 and above GPA before we came to this district. Now they barely pass. That board member told me, he looked me in the eye when I said my daughter wouldn't go to college, and he said, what does it matter? She can go to community college. Yes, she can, but that wasn't her dream, and you took it from her when you
Time has expired.
Next up, Katie Nash of Gilbert to speak about academic improvement.
That is horrible.
Excuse the pajamas, it's Spirit Week at Chandler High, so go Wolves. I'm here tonight to issue a call to our community. At every meeting, I share how incredibly difficult this year is for us. We're expected to make up learning gaps from the last 18 months and beyond immediately while covering each other's classes, performing additional duties due to a lack of staff, and seeing behaviors that not all educators are adequately trained to address. It feels like nothing is ever good enough. The to-do list gets longer and longer. Condemning the district and its staff pushes amazing educators out the door. It leaves students without the support they so desperately need right now. We need help. The berating and degrading of educators needs to stop. We need to model the behavior we want to see for our children. We need to put the unity back in our community. We need to build relationships and work together during this reconstructive time. It takes a village to raise a child. It takes all of us working together to care for our young people. Thank you.
Next, Jennifer McPhee of Tempe is going to speak to board duty.
Hi, I've been hiding in the hallway. My name's Jen, and I'm a parent of children in Chandler School. In light of the continued misuse of this platform, this should not be a safe space for conspiracy theorists, extremists, and even white supremacists to come here and spew vitriol and false information uninterrupted. We can see you sit complicit, silently unresponsive to remarks that take place in this room, wasting precious time when you should be setting the tone and example by doing the jobs you were elected to do. You owe it to our children in this community to do better while you occupy those seats. We expect more from you. Be accountable. Put a stop to the abuse of this platform. Listen to the parents of the kids that go to your schools. Take action to protect our children as these COVID outbreaks continue to worsen. I'm begging you just to do better.
Hope I have the spelling right or pronunciation. Yamit Harel of Chandler is going to speak about appreciation.
Hello, I wanted to express my appreciation for you, the nation, for the anti-Semitic hate speech that occurred last board meeting. Our history teaches us that allowing. Sorry about that. Our history teaches. From the beginning.
Yes, we're restarting the time.
Thank you. I wanted to express my appreciation for the situation of the anti-Semitic hate speech that occurred last board meeting. I also feel that this letter is not enough, the letter that you sent for the public. What will happen the next time such hate speech comes up to the board meeting? I think in the future the board members themselves need to speak up the very moment such hateful lies are expressed. Our history teaches us that allowing such racism to pass ungauged only invites more of the same. As a representative of the community, as a school board, need to speak as
15 seconds.
The conscience of the community and condemn racism like that. I will also say I'm here from the IAC, the Israel American Council, and I would like to turn this unpleasant
Time has expired.
Next is Julie Gunnigal, school board comments masking from Scottsdale.
Good evening. I am here tonight because I am tired of seeing Arizona school boards held up to the nation and amplified as examples of ignorance, racism, and anti-science sentiment. I'm tired of having our state tied to this nonsense, and I am embarrassed on your behalf when I watched a meeting a few weeks ago where blatant anti-Semitism conspiracy theories were spouted and comments were made that racism somehow ended with the election of Vice President Harris. This is a problem and it calls for a response in the moment, because otherwise all you are doing is giving a platform to people who would seek to out-conspiracy theory each other in hopes that their videos would go viral to their own group of insular extremists on social media. When this board says nothing in the face of ignorant, anti-Semitic, and racist comments, it tells the community that it is okay. And I know that sometimes it is hard to confront it in the moment. Maybe I can help. Racism is bad, homophobia is bad, anti-Semitism is bad, and it's really as simple as that.
Finally, last speaker is Jean Castine of Phoenix. You're going to speak to school board comments and masking.
Much better. Good evening, Madam President, Governing Board, members of Cabinet. My name is Jeannie Castine, and I am here as a concerned citizen, mother, lifelong educator, former school board member, and executive director of a local nonprofit focused on keeping dangerous political ideologies out of our schools and government organizations. These CUSD meetings over the past several months seem to share a rallying cry of parental rights. Sadly, I hear very little from parents about the rights of children. As an educator and education advocate, I've seen firsthand how the decisions made by the adults in this state adversely affect students, whether it's funding cuts that are a part of a systematic dismantling of our public schools, anti-science conspiracy theories that put students and staff in danger, or discriminatory practices that favor certain student groups over others. Our students, and especially those in traditionally marginalized groups, are the ones who are suffering. Take a lesson from the kids that you saw here tonight. They were about inclusion, community appreciation, and embracing science. That's what we need more of. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Locke. Thank you to the members of the community who spoke this evening. We appreciate hearing your thoughts, and we will now move on to our consent agenda. Mr. Narducci.
Madam President, members of the board, I'll read the consent agenda item here as we go along. Out-of-state student travel preparing. This is common. Out-of-state field trip pre-planning from Bogle Junior High School and ACP High School are provided. Following governing board pre-approval, the superintendent designee, which is Dr. Gilbert, will monitor trip arrangement before providing final approval. The governing board will receive a summary of final travel arrangements quarterly. Field trip approval will be determined on a case-by-case basis, and as always, it will be contingent upon the current health guidelines of the places our kids are going. Also, monetary gifts. We request approval of the monetary gifts generously donated to Chandler schools, totaling $17,790.40. Under 8.03 donations, request approval of the items, again, generously donated to Chandler schools, totaling $6,785.90. And 8.04 emergency connectivity funding. Some of the parents in the room, as well as parents that are watching, may know that we sent several surveys out. Colleen Flannery, our executive director for technology, was mainly in charge of this. In the summer of 2021, the Federal Communications Commission started a program called the Emergency Connectivity Fund. This program is designed to help students with remote learning concerns, which we saw a lot of during the time our kids were out of school. Several billion dollars were allocated as part of the American Rescue Fund, and the program is run through the current E-rate process. This process allows schools to request funding for laptop purchases no greater than $400 per device, and hotspots no greater than $250 per device. The district applied for this grant and has been awarded $6 million for devices excluding taxes. The district would like to purchase 15,000 devices from Insight Public Sector through the Omnia Partners and IT Product Services contract, which complies with all school procurement rules. Recommended approval to purchase 15,000 devices from Insight Public Sector in the amount of $6,485,351.40. Also, under Human Resources, employment and separation compensation and job descriptions are there for your approval as well, and that's the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Narducci. Could I get a motion to approve our consent agenda?
Madam President, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Can I just ask one clarifying question?
Yes.
I sent Ms. Berry an email about the tax amount. Does that need to be separate from the grant funding? And where does that come from?
Can you repeat your question? I'm sorry.
So there's $6 million from grants, right? And then there's the tax. Does that have to be paid out of a separate fund, and which fund?
No, it will all come from the funding source. It's actually like a federal. There's not a separate source that'll come from M&O. It'll come from the same fund. Is that what you're asking about? I'll actually let you finish that then.
Mrs. Bruner, we have to pay the taxes on it. The district has to.
So it can't come from the grant funds? Okay, thank you.
Okay, all those in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We will now move on to our action items. The first is RFP number 49-22-26 for online tutoring program. Dr. Gilbert.
Madam President, members of the board, as we seek to provide opportunities to address unfinished learning, there is a demand for on-demand virtual options for tutoring for our Chandler Unified School District students. A request for proposal was issued by the Chandler Unified School District as a member of the Strategic Alliance for Volume Expenditures, which is SAVE, for our online tutoring program. 23 member school districts expressed interest in the resulting SAVE contract. This solicitation was advertised per ARS 11-255 and 256. Vendors were notified through the website as presented in this document. 6 vendors submitted a response. The proposal was evaluated by 4 committee members with knowledge and background in curriculum. After the proposal was evaluated, it was determined that a contract be awarded to 2 vendors, Link Systems International, Inc., which is NetTutor, and Keeson, I believe it's Keeson Group Service, Inc., which is Schooly. It was originally anticipated that the RFP would be awarded to a single vendor. However, once receiving the vendor's responses, it was determined that a single award is not the most advantageous to meeting the diverse needs of the SAVE members who express interest in the solicitation. Not all responding school districts are grades K through 12 like CUSD. Request approval to award to the top 2 scoring vendors per the solicitation evaluation criteria. A recap is also attached for you. The online tutoring program contract will be in effect upon governing board approval, date through June 30th, 2022, with the option to renew on an annual basis for 4 additional years. Should all renewals be exercised, final expiration would be June 30th, 2026. A multi-year contract is advantageous to the district for the following reasons. It provides continued continuity of service by allowing the district to use a vendor that is familiar with the district needs and requirements. Promotes efficiency by eliminating the need to annually prepare, let, and award an RFP. The need for the required services is anticipated to exist for at least as long as the maximum contract term is reasonable and continuing, and the term of the contract and the conditions for renewal are contained within the solicitation. We request approval to award the RFP number 49-22-26 for online tutoring programs to Link Systems International, Inc., NetTutor, as well as Keeson Group Service, Inc., Schooly. Chandler Unified School District is requesting approval to enter into a contract with Link Systems International, Inc., NetTutor, to begin January 3rd, 2022 through January 3rd, 2022 through June 30th, 2022, in the estimated amount of $26 per student enrolled in the online tutoring program. This will be paid utilizing ESSER funds. Should the funds and the ongoing need continue, this contract would be renewed for 4 one-year contracts through the June 30th, 2026. We're recommending approval, and that was a mouthful.
Yes, it was. Thank you, Dr. Gilbert. Could I please get a motion for this?
I move the approval of the online tutoring program.
Second.
All right. Are there any questions? Yes, Ms. Love.
Oh, sorry.
Ms. Love, go ahead.
Okay. One question I forgot to ask when I saw this and got with staff about it is, this starts January 3rd, 2022, so basically the beginning of January. Is that for both companies?
No, for Chandler, it would just be the NetTutor.
Okay, so it starts basically in January, right?
That's correct.
Is that for elementary, junior high, high school, everybody?
Yeah, yes, for K-12, yes. Sorry, I'm also looking at Dr. Edgar, who actually did the heavy lift in putting this together and working with the committee as well as the member schools. Okay. So she could also answer some questions if I don't have the answer for you.
Okay, that was the only question I had.
Ms. Love.
Help me to understand. So this is an online tutoring platform. Are the tutors provided by the vendor, or are we pulling some of our own teachers?
The tutors are provided by the vendor at any time of the day and when students need the tutoring.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Dr. Gilbert, when it says it's $26 per student, are we doing it just as a blanket statement for all students or a blanket expense for all students, or will each individual student need to sign up, and when that student signs up, then we are charged the $26? How does that work?
That is correct. It is, well, I will defer to Dr. Edgar. We've had some conversations, but I want to make sure I don't misspeak.
This is a tricky one. So we actually contacted, when we could, we contacted and asked for clarification in the RFP, and actually it's when the students are rostered, and we don't get charged that $26 per student when they're rostered, it's actually when they start accessing. So it's more fiscally responsible in this way in which they're going to bill us is when the students actually access, because there will be individuals that don't take part in the online tutoring.
So when you look at the amount is if every student enrolled so that you have an idea of what that cost would be. But being that it is an on-demand when the students are rostered and in the system, that's when we would get charged.
And what types of tutoring is available? Is it through all grade levels, K through 12? Is it through all classes, like even for like AP classes, or even like kindergarten learning their letters type stuff or reading?
Great question. So it was a K-12 RFP, request for proposal. So it hits all those pieces with certified individuals from the outside vendor, which will also provide our teachers a little bit of balance in their lives. When I sit with my child and it's 9 o'clock at night and they need somebody right away, they'll be able to get online and schedule a time with that tutor. And they are tutors that are highly qualified from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade. We also wanted to make sure in this RFP process that we addressed AP classes, some of those higher level classes as well, because those students also need tutors that are on demand. So we tried to choose a vendor. We did choose a vendor that has a great range to address all of our students' needs.
Wow, that's kind of amazing in of itself, because when I think about all the different levels and classes and everything else that the district offers, they really do need to have a wide variety of tutors available to help kids. So.
And we'll be monitoring to see who's accessing, and also if there is a roadblock or an obstacle where we hear from our parents that there needs to be a certain tutor or another avenue, we will make sure that we listen to that concern and address as well.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions from the board?
So what I understood from the way this was written, that so you have one student that, say I have one daughter that needs help with her algebra, and she accesses it the first time, they charge the district $26. If she accesses it 10 more times throughout the year to get help, that $26 covers the rest of that, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Madam President, while Dr. Edgar's up there, could you just, since we have a great audience here tonight and there's a lot of people watching, can you just explain the difference between this tutoring and what we're doing with the other ESSER strategy of extended learning? Because tutoring happens there too, right?
Correct. So we have two different types of tutoring. We have the in-person tutoring, or an extension of the school day, and then we have the online piece. So the extension of the school day is an in-person targeted piece where students are identified that they're needing these tutoring pieces that are in brick and mortar, versus the online piece where not necessarily targeted, but they will be invited to, as needed, will have the access to look at or utilize those tutors to get any information that they need, to get help like homework help and things like that. Because we also want to respect our teachers too. Our teachers, not only are they going to work during that day, they're also extending with the brick and mortar in-person tutoring that's available. And now we also have this opportunity for access as well for those students that might do sports, might not have some other transportation pieces, but they're able to access a computer later on and have that tutoring happen later on, not maybe during the time frame tutoring is available at the brick and mortar, or if they're not part of that targeted intervention at the school sites.
And what is the plan if a family doesn't have a computer?
You know what? I know that we do have a plan. Our ed tech works very closely to make sure that students have computers and hotspots. I know that Dr. Gilbert could probably answer that question a lot better than I can.
We will utilize the technology that we have, as well as the recent purchase that Mr. Fletcher was talking about, where we work with those students and those families that have a need for technology. Our schools also have technology on their campus that if there is a need for a family for technology, they can actually check that out from the site.
Great.
In addition, Madam President and Dr. Gilbert, great job. When the survey was given, parents gave us information of the needs in their homes. And so these computers will be distributed first to those that responded that they had a need. And then we'll work with those where we have to increase the one-to-one capability of kids taking some computers home from their school sites as well.
Great. Thank you. Yes, Ms. Love.
I know that this probably is not the appropriate time to bring this up since we're talking about the online tutoring, but will there be an opportunity for us to ask questions about the extended day tutoring? Because I do have questions, but I just don't feel like it's an appropriate time to talk about that now.
Sure, we can actually bring that up to another meeting or and discuss it there, or just let us know. All school sites have the extended day. Funds have been distributed, weighted based on their needs, and some schools have more intensive needs than others, and so they were weighted by having additional funds. And so that strategy, schools are coming up with their plans, and they submitted their plans by the end of October, and they're actually implementing those now. So some high schools, for example, are actually creating periods that kids can get to, because a lot of our kids can't stay after school. They need help, they get it there. And others are extending the day before and after school and intersessions to create opportunities for those kids that might have suffered learning loss. But we can get more specific information. We're going to give a board update on each of the strategies as a part of the ESSER requirement.
Thank you.
All right. If there's no other questions on this particular, I'm sorry, do you have a question?
I just had a question.
Go ahead, sorry.
So it mentions that there's a possibility for this to keep rolling. And I was just wondering, in what format are we going to get information at the end of the school year about how much of this we've used, so we can kind of see like our bang for our buck on this?
NetTutor had stated that there's an administrative report that we can pull to see how many times students have accessed and how many total amount of minutes. So we'll be monitoring that closely at the Instructional Resource Center to make sure that we truly are getting the most bang for our buck, and that we're advertising appropriately to our community members so our students really are able to fill in those gaps that we're trying to.
So I guess I'm asking if you could send that to us also, maybe
Yes.
at the end of the school year. Thank you.
Will do.
Thank you, Mrs. Bruner. If there's no other questions, all right, I'll go ahead and take the vote. All those in favor of approving the online tutoring program, please say aye.
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 Opposed? The motion carries. Next, we have 9.02, K through 6th grade English Language Arts ELA resource adoption. And I believe that's Dr. Gilbert also.
Madam President, members of the board, there's a demand for vertical articulation for comprehensive K-6 English Language Arts resources to meet the requirements of the Arizona English Language Arts standards. On September 8th, 2021, the governing board was provided information on the curriculum and instruction team's recommendation of the Houghton Mifflin Harcourt into reading for grades K-5 and Sabas My Perspectives for grade 6. The following costs are for 6 years. The HMH into reading resource for K-5 for 6-year cost is $2,418,148.88 with shipping and taxes, and includes, and I'm not going to read all of them. What I'm going to share is you have teacher guides, you have student resources, you have class sets for the room resources. You also have digital student resources, one-to-one for students to be able to utilize. You'll see that for kindergarten, you'll see each grade level as to for the district need of how many teachers, how many students for kindergarten, first grade, all the way through 5th grade. I think it's real important why this is written in this way, so that, because when we look at whether it's into reading or we look at Sabas, there's a lot of content that they have, but we're very specific and targeted as to what content we are purchasing. So if it's not on this sheet, we're not using those resources. So it's real important to know these are the resources that are being used specifically for those grade levels. With that being said, you can see all the way from kindergarten all the way through to 5th grade, and then we look at the Sabas My Perspective resource for 6th grade for a 6-year cost of $360,379.22 with shipping and taxes, and that includes the 6th grade for teachers, the teacher edition, student edition, print consumables for the student edition plus digital licenses. In accordance to ARS 15721 and CUSD policy IJJ, the materials were on display in the main lobby of the CUSD Instructional Resource Center for 60 days beginning September 9th, 2021 for public viewing and input. Digital access to the materials on 60-day review was also available for public review at the website that's also included in this document. We had one verbal comment was submitted, and we're recommending approval for our ELA resources for grades K-6. I will be able to help with some questions, but I will tell you again, we are fortunate to have Dr. Edgar, who is our Director of Curriculum Instruction, will also be able to assist you in questions you may have.
Thank you, Dr. Gilbert. Could I please get a motion for the approval of the ELA curriculum?
Madam President, I would like to make a motion to adopt the K through 6th grade English Language Arts resources as outlined by Dr. Gilbert.
I'll second.
Great. Are there any questions or discussion or comments? Mr. Olive?
I had one. Do we have a limit on how long we can use this stuff? I thought we had a 5-year limit on how long we could use a resource at one time. Is that true?
Not that I know of. Normally what happens when we're purchasing, we usually will go for a 5-year.
Okay.
But what normally happens with the companies, it's usually a 6.
Okay.
And it's usually not a cost extension of the 6. It's just usually part of it.
Mr. Olive, I think you were remembering there was a health class, like I don't know, a nursing or some other type class that was, the resources were only good for like 5 years.
Okay.
And then they had to be renewed, but that was
that
very
makes sense.
specific, yeah. Are there any other questions? Mrs. Brenner?
Just to clarify, there are physical books and online resources. Is the online resource supplemental, or is it also the textbook in online format?
It's also textbook in online format with additional teacher resources to access so we can start moving towards that future-ready student.
Okay. I really appreciate that there's the physical books. I know some folks had some concerns when we replaced some science and social studies with online, and then they lost their physical books and they were attached, let's say. And then I was wondering if you could describe the process by which the classroom experts were included as a part of this recommendation process.
Absolutely. So it was kind of a two-prong approach, and I know there was a presentation, but I'll just recap a little piece of it. Is we had about, I can't remember the exact numbers, but we had teachers, parents, and administrators during that first round before we even went to 60 days, because we had to narrow down the vendors. So we did that, and there was a great turnout from our parents, which we were very appreciative. So if any of you were there or provided input, thank you. And our teachers as well, and some administrators. And then we went to the 60-day review, which is a public review that was all of our resources were out at the Instructional Resource Center, as well as this is a very big adoption, so we want to make sure there's accessibility. We had online pieces for parents and community members to access as well.
So the teachers had to come to an evening event? Is that what you're saying?
They were provided the option to come to the Instructional Resource Center, or they could go online and look at the digital piece. And we also had 7 to 8 different sites out in areas of the district. So we made sure that the individuals at Auxerre had kind of a hub that they could go to, and it was on display. So we really tried to get the most feedback that we possibly could before going with and presenting to you these 2 vendors.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? All right. All those in favor of adopting the K through 6th grade English Language Arts ELA resources, please say aye.
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 Motion carries. Our next is the ASBA bylaw proposal consideration. This has been brought back. We had tabled this for a future board member, or for a future board meeting. And this is the one on the proposal that Arizona School Boards Association is asking member schools, school districts to vote on, is they're asking for the Hispanic, Native American, Indian caucus well, I should just read it. The proposal, their statement is, with unanimous approval, the ASBA, Hispanic Native American Indian Caucus, and ASBA Board of Directors, this change is being sought by the Hispanic Native American Indian Caucus. It would create a seat on the ASBA Board of Directors so that Hispanic and Native American interests can be represented simultaneously on the board. Currently, there is one seat on the ASBA Board of Directors designated for representation of the Hispanic Native American Indian Caucus, and it alternates every 2 years between Hispanic representation and Native American representation, creating gaps in representation. By contrast, the Black Alliance has a seat on the ASBA Board of Directors, ensuring representation on the board at all times. This proposed bylaw change also provides the flexibility for the Hispanic Native American Indian Caucus to split into 2 distinct groups if the members so choose, and allow those groups to change their names and be recognized under their new name. So basically, there is currently one seat that alternates between the Hispanic Caucus and the Native American Caucus. So each group has basically a half of a seat, if you would, instead of one seat each. And so ASBA is asking boards to vote on this and send their vote to them to see if they can change their ASBA bylaws on this. So could I please get a motion?
Madam President, I make a motion to approve the bylaw change proposed from the ASBA to create a seat on the ASBA Board of Directors so that the Hispanic and Native American interests can be represented simultaneously, and give direction to Donna and I to vote in the matter in the manner the board has approved.
Second.
Is there some discussion?
I'd like to make a comment. Originally, my expectation of school board should be an independent organization. I originally was concerned that this might skew the vote, but there's so many board members that is a non-issue, so I will be voting yes.
I will also be voting yes. I do believe that it's unfair to expect half representation from each group, and that that there should be full representation of both the Hispanic caucus and the Native American caucus on the school boards. It's not fair having a Black Alliance individual who has full representation and not these other 2 groups also. So.
My vote has always been yes, and I stand by the statement that I made in the prior board meeting when we discussed this. And I am so glad that we are making the right choice tonight, especially in light of the way that these meetings have escalated and have become violent and volatile towards communities of color. We really need those seats and voices at the table. So thank you.
Anyone else? Mrs. Bruner?
I just want to also reiterate what everyone's been saying, that certainly these 2 groups represent a large population of our students in Arizona, and families that school boards represent, and they certainly deserve to have each group represented. Thank you.
All right. If there's no other comments or questions, all those in favor of approving the bylaw change, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And next we have an item to approve the direction given to legal counsel in the executive session, executive session item 1.01. Could I get a motion, please?
Madam President, I make a motion to approve the direction given to legal counsel in executive session item 1.01.
Second.
All those in favor of approving the direction given to legal counsel, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Next, we'll move on to our information items, and we have our student activity, auxiliary operations, and tax credit reports. Mrs. Berry.
Madam President, members of the board, the student activities, auxiliary operations, and tax credit reports for the months ending July of 2021 through October of 2021 are provided for your review.
Thank you, Mrs. Berry. Are there any questions or comments on the auxiliary reports, tax credits, or student activities? If not, we'll move on to our junior high school course catalog. Dr. Gilbert.
Madam President, members of the board, for your information, attached is the draft of the 2022-2023 junior high course catalog. There were no courses added or removed from the previous school year. The catalog will be presented for approval at the December 8th, 2021 board meeting.
Thank you. Anything to note of in particular with the catalog this year for the junior highs?
Not for the junior high.
Okay.
Nope, not at all.
Okay. Any questions for Dr. Gilbert? All right, we'll move on to the high school catalogs then. Dr. Gilbert.
Madam President, members of the board, for your information, attached is the draft of the 2022-2023 high school course catalog and a summary of the recommended additions and deletions. The catalog will be presented for approval at the December 8th, 2021 board meeting. You will see on the attachment, it gives you the new courses that will start next year in 2022-2023. Also gives you new courses that will begin 2023-2024. There's still work to do in regards to making sure this is prepared for this class to start, or these classes to start at that time. One thing I think is important to make note is that if students don't choose these classes don't make. So it has to be students actually choosing and parents approving to enroll in the courses that are available for students to enroll in. You also see that there are a couple of course name changes for the 2022-2023 as a summary for you, as well as courses that are being removed for your information.
Thank you, Dr. Gilbert. Are there any questions about the high school catalog? Mrs. Bruner?
Yes. So I did have a question regarding the partner PE class. Is that more of like an adaptive PE class, or is that some other type? What is that?
I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Edgar.
So that class is like partnering, where we have different abilitied individuals there working together to make sure that there's some fantastic models and supportive partnerships and collaboration to meet those physical education standards.
So does that mean that there will be adaptive PE being provided for those students so that they have specific modifications and the supports they've had in adaptive PE before? Or is it more like, here's what Gen Ed PE looks like, and we're giving peers some?
So if it's in their IEP, which I will defer to Dr. Marshall, and there's adaptive physical education minutes, that is something that will be carried out in that class and can be carried out in that class.
Hi, thank you. The partner PE was originated from our adaptive PE coaches, that we have 2 FTE dedicated, and they partner with the general education teachers, and they are basically providing consultative type services and modeling and preparing different activities that would allow for different abled students to participate.
When you
so
say
we don't have actually adaptive PE minutes on an IEP at this time. Our students are truly integrated and included in with their general education peers, unless it's part of a rec and leisure type of a course at the high school level.
So when you say consulting, do you mean that
co-teaching?
Okay, so they're both.
They could be co-teaching. They may not be co-teaching every day. Because if it's at all 6 high schools, we have the 2 teachers that then will go between the high schools to provide that the adaptations required for the students of the varying different ability levels.
Okay. So are you saying there will no longer be adaptive PE, or this is another layer so that you get LRE at these different
This is
levels?
another layer.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Gilbert, I know I sent you an email earlier today, but I haven't been on my email to see if you had answered. So I guess I'll just ask the questions. I was looking at for the 23-24 beginning swim, and how is this going to work with the two high schools that are listed here that don't have a pool if they're going to be doing swimming?
I did some checking and I did respond. What you have is ACP was a type O, and CCHS should be CHS.
Okay, that's good. The other question is, how will it impact some of the, like Hamilton High School has swim academy? Will this be in lieu of the academy, or will it be in addition to the academy?
It will be in addition.
Okay, great.
We don't believe that it's going to affect the academies.
Okay. Have you spoken with any of the teachers there? Because I've heard sometimes they have difficulty getting kids into the academy.
Yeah, what I would say is the schools that have signed on came from the schools. So this class originated from the schools, and so one of the requirements they have to do is share this with their department chairs and have the conversation at their schools as to whether they're going to offer it or not. Okay. So we will go through and prepare to have a class, and then that is shared with all the other schools, and then they have an opportunity, whether it's this year or a following year, to sign on and say it's something that we're looking to offer and see if students want to take it. So it's by choice.
Great, thank you. Are there any other questions about the high school course catalog?
I just had one more.
Yes.
So the personal finance class, does that take the place of, say, an economics course, or no?
No, that's okay.
So I brought some notes just in case you were going to ask those questions. So personal finance, it is actually a social studies high school elective is what it won't take place. It's not math, it's that social studies high school elective piece, because there is a seal of biliteracy, and this class meets some of those requirements for the seal, not biliteracy, they seal, a diploma seal for financial literacy and personal finance.
Okay. And on that same note, I'm just very happy to see that we're going to be offering a class like this, because I really believe that there's a very, very strong need for our students to be able to learn about personal finance and budgeting and all of the things that this class is going to be teaching them, because we do need to have students ready to be in the real world once they graduate from high school, and this is going to be a great step in the right direction. All right, if there's no other questions or comments on this, we will move on to our policy revisions. Dr. Gilbert.
Madam President, members of the board, for your information, the Arizona School Board Association has recommended changes to the following policies. Policy IHAMB and Regulation IHAMBR, Family Life Education. House Bill 2035 modifies ARS 15133, Rights of Parents, and ARS 15711, which is sex education instruction. Arizona Administrative Code R72-303 was also updated. The salient portions of this change have been placed in policy IHAMB and in regulation IHAMBR, which is family life education. I think it's important to note on this policy, I thank our community members for sharing their concerns. When we change policy as it relates to ASBA, it is because of legislation that has changed that we get the information within our policy. Then we review the policy and review the legislation to make sure that they match, because we're making changes based on legislation, not necessarily based on what ASBA is saying. In regards to the current policy changes, our policy for our family life education has not changed in how we have established what is being taught within our schools right now. This is a focus of making sure that our policy matches legislation. With that being said, changing that this cannot be taught before 5th grade. The important points on this is making sure that there's a signed consent form from parents prior to use of videos, audio, any electronic material, or providing sex education to students. All of this has to make sure that there is a signed permission from parents to opt in and not opt out. in regards to removal of some of the content that is in this policy, in 2019, 1920, legislation actually removed this language from legislation, but our policy, with everything that has occurred over the last year and a half, we have not updated this policy, so the policy is being updated, which should have been updated previously when this was actually rescinded in the legislation in 2019, 2020. Any questions on this particular policy?
No, go on.
For your board members, for your information, policy JLF, reporting child abuse, child protection. Senate Bill 114 adds ARS 15-160.01, describing the required posting related to suspected abuse and neglect of children, instructions to call 911, and directions for accessing the website of the Department of Child Safety for information on reporting child abuse, child neglect, and exploitation of children. This is really focusing on making sure that this information is posted in our schools in an open space so that students can see. It's not just for adults, it's for also making sure that the students see and to be in compliance with legislation. That is the update of this policy.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this one?
Not a question. I mean, and this isn't something that you can do anything about, so do not take this personally. But it's just a comment in terms of we've moved the age up for the family life curriculum to 5th grade. But we are asking children to report child abuse, which includes sexual abuse. Hello, I'm a social worker and work with kids. And we're expecting them to identify this when we have not given them the proper education on boundaries, consent, proper body parts, which we know in the juvenile justice system is how cases of sexual abuse get thrown out when kids can't speak to what is happening to them. So the two of these things together feels like a slap in the face from the Senate, and I will say that on record. And I really don't think that it shows that the Senate actually cares about children and children's rights. But that is not anything for you, Dr. Gilbert. I know you're over there just doing your job.
Thank you.
We'll go on to policy KB.
Policy KB, parent involvement in education. This is, I would say, in connection also with policy changes from policy IHAMB. Language was altered in ARS 15-102, parent involvement in schools, by House Bill 2035, which modifies the language pertaining to instruction, learning materials, or presentations regarding sexuality in courses other than from a formal sex education curricula. Policy KB includes the language which requires parents to opt their child into any such instruction, learning materials, or presentations. It also reiterates language added to ARS 15-113, requiring parental consent before providing sex education instruction to the student. Chandler School District recommends adopting policies as proposed by ASBA. These changes are presented as information, and approval will be requested at the December 8th, 2021 board meeting. Regulations and exhibits do not require approval.
Thank you, Dr. Gilbert. Are there any questions about this?
Dr. Gilbert, on that last one, how is that different than what Chandler District already does for parental consent?
I think the difference, the biggest difference is currently it's been more opting out. Now it's opting in. And in the KB policy, it's also addressing if there's anything that is going to come up with sexuality in a course that's not currently the family life course. So it's two pieces to make sure that it's covered in both areas. It's not just addressing parents being able to see the content, whether it is hard copy or virtual, making sure that parents are able to opt in, be able to make sure they give permission as these courses, as it relates to sex education, as well as if something is going to come up in another course that's not.
Dr. Gilbert, do our high schools have an anatomy class that is taught?
Do we? I'm sorry.
Yes, we do.
And
we do.
I have a question for you then. Would this mean?
Well, we
Okay,
have
I just
quite a
wanted to
bit.
confirm.
Yeah.
So would this mean that if there is going to be in this class something on the reproductive system, that the parents are going to have to opt into this?
I would believe so, but I'd have to get more information on you. If
Okay.
it falls under this policy, yes. I mean, that's ultimately what it comes down to. We'd have to make sure what was being taught in that class and how it's being taught to make sure that parents know and they have access to the content and the curriculum for all of our classes.
Okay.
Would it be possible for us just to see, like, after you do your analysis of which courses this impacts, for us to see that? For example, I know in AP Psychology, the College Board curriculum includes some overlap here with the social psychology unit. So I'd just like to see how many courses this is affecting and
We can do that.
what this
We
is
can
going
look
to look
into it.
like and the logistics of it.
I can't tell you what that turnaround time is going to be, but we can look into that.
Okay. Thank you. Next, we have our board agenda roadmap. Our last meeting of the year of 2020, I can't believe it, is going to be December 8th. Mrs. Nye, the first one for December 8th under world-class employees in the board meetings, I think we've done that resolution already, and it needs to be removed off of the calendar. And we will be approving the junior high and high school, or we have an action item for the junior high and high school course catalogs. And we will be getting our first budget revision from Mrs. Berry. All right. Mr. Narducci,
Madam
Superintendent
President,
comments.
members of the board, and thank you for community staying here this late with us tonight. We do appreciate it. We have several things to celebrate. Dr. Gilbert and I just came back before the board meeting. We were at Castile High School, where we experienced a version of Chopped. If any of you have seen Chopped, the show, it's exciting. Yes, right? So imagine that with all of our high school students in their classes preparing a meal that they were just told at that time what they were doing, given the ingredients, preparing it and having 7 judges judge their food. It was amazing. The kids are chef teachers, which are, I want to call them more chefs than I want to call them teachers because they are amazing. All the kids did a fantastic job. We judged that. And for our kids that are in Culinary 1, that's the first level of it, they actually had a chili cook-off in the parking lot, which was fantastic. And so, and then inside these wonderful culinary kitchens that we have that our kids learn in real life experiences to be future ready, they created the meals. And so just want to thank all of our teachers that made that happen for the kids. They were collaborative and they were competitive, and I tell you, it was just amazing. Also, we have fall high school sports seasons winding down, and we have 3 state champions already. Hamilton High School boys golf team won the Arizona Division I state championship, played at Omni National Golf Resort in Tucson last week, their 3rd straight state title and 9th overall. On the girls' side...
More important, though, they won by 35.
Yeah, they won by 35. I'm not a golfer. I just like going out and playing. Joel's a golfer, and they won by 35, which is great. On the girls' side, Jenny Jr. at Hamilton won the Division I girls golf state championship as well. Perry High School girls badminton team defeated Chaparral 5-0 2 weeks ago to win their 5th consecutive Division I state championship. I'm going to say that again, 5th consecutive Division I state champion. Incredible. We will have all the state champions at our board meeting in December, Mrs. Mosden, so that they can be here and be recognized. And we'll sprinkle those in throughout our year versus doing something at the end of the year when it's so far from their championship. While speaking of sporting events, the big Battle of Arizona Avenue will be held at Hamilton High School this year on Friday night. So if you're not doing anything on Friday night and you didn't get a ticket, I don't know. Chandler High is ranked number 10 in the country and Hamilton High number 15. Both are undefeated, playing for the conference title this weekend. The Chandler Rotary, and I want to thank all of our Rotaries for doing such an amazing partnership with us, but the Chandler Rotary held its annual Battle of Arizona luncheon at Soho, which is in downtown Chandler, on Tuesday to introduce some of the players and coaches and to set the tone for the game, which will be played at 7 p.m. Friday at Jerry Loper Field at Hamilton High School. And I can tell you, our students that represented their teams were amazing. Speaking with them, they are going places, and not only are they thinking of their pathway at this game, because it's really hard playing your rival in district opponent, but very respectful and just great knowing the individuals they are. It's nice to see two of our staff also get singled out for recognition among their peers. Amanda Yang from Tarwater has been named as Arizona Language Association Teacher of the Year for Arizona. She will now compete with teachers from the Southwest region of the U.S. for the Regional Teacher of the Year. And Tarwater was here earlier, but they also have our dual Mandarin program there as well. Hamilton High School, again, social studies teacher Scott Reed is the 2021 winner of the Mary Margaret Moffett Memorial Teaching Excellence Award from the Society for the Teaching of Psychology, APA Division II. Congratulations to Scott as well. And Arizona College Prep High School students from freshmen to seniors participated in the Space Visions Conference in Houston, Texas from November 4th through November 6th. They went there as students of the Students of Exploration and Development of Space Club, and they met with NASA representatives, offered internship opportunities, and were promised one-to-one mentorship by huge names in space industry, from SpaceX to NASA and many other commercial space companies, all while in high school. I think our Tarwater kids may want to talk to them. They are also highly appreciated for their project ideas by experts in their fields of space research and exploration. They were only one of the 2 schools in the entire West Coast and one of the 5 schools in the entire nation who got this opportunity as part of the SPEDS program. In honor of all veterans and the observance of Veterans Day tomorrow, schools and our district offices will be closed. Just want to remind parents, please don't send your kids tomorrow. We will be bringing them back. A big thank you and shout out to our schools. I think you've seen many of our schools who've celebrated and honored our veterans this week and through various school programs. And so we do appreciate the respect that's shown to our veterans, and we want to give a shout out to them. Also, with the holidays right around the corner, which I can't believe, I wish everyone a wonderful, this is our only meeting in November. And safe if you're traveling Thanksgiving. We have so much to be thankful for as a school community. Thankful for our staff, for our governing board that governs, for our parents who provide us input and opportunity. Also, thank you for your confidence in COSD through the passage of the override. We know our community is entrusting us to provide our children with a world-class education, and we don't take it lightly. We will not fail. Again, thank you. We are Chandler. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Mr. Narducci. Do any board members have any comments for this evening? Mrs. Bruner?
Thank you. First, I did want to also thank all the veterans in our community for their service, and to just an additional shout out to Scott Reed, who has helped me many times with our creation of a state level conference for psychology teachers in high schools, and he has served on national committees and done amazing things. So just want to thank him for that. I also wanted to thank the public for their clear support of our school district. The vote on the override speaks volumes, and we just want to thank you so much for that. But I do just want to add that it's not enough. It's definitely needed, but we need to keep moving forward in our support for schools. I don't know how many of you saw the report from Superintendent Watson, Maricopa County Superintendent, and the survey that he sends out every year to teachers. Just 3 years ago, 10% of teachers reported stress levels that were severe or extreme. And this year, 75% of teachers reported severe or extreme levels of stress. We need to find ways to make the environment for teachers workable, that the task has to be doable within a normal lifespan. You know, like you can't expect thousands of hours of work out of someone every week. And I don't know all the answers for sure, but you know, I see it every day. I hear it when I go and talk at the campuses, and we need to continue to support teachers and provide the resources for them so that they can have workable class sizes and that they can have reasonable prep periods that look like what all the other successful states and countries have, so that teachers can do the job that they need to do well, and that they don't feel like they can never get done everything they want to get done, because we're losing them left and right. And it breaks my heart every time, every year I see good teachers leave to other professions. And I'm really concerned this year and the next year what's going to happen to our numbers. Even in excellent school districts like Chandler, we're not immune. So I just, encourage the community to do everything they can for their children's teachers, to support candidates who are going to dedicate resources to our schools, and also to all the other staff members as well. It's not just teachers, but this one survey was for teachers. And I just want to thank them all for all that they do.
Thank you, Mrs. Bruner. Anyone else?
I do.
Yes, Mr. Worth.
Well, Mr. Narducci stole what I wanted to talk about. So on the golf team, they averaged 6 under par. If they played ASU, they'd be favored over ASU's golf team. Those scores are just hard to understand. The other thing is, thank you to the community for passing the override. It's incredibly important to the district and incredibly important to the classroom, to our teachers, and I just want to thank you.
Thank you very much for coming this evening. We appreciate you staying for the long meeting. We also appreciate hearing the comments that you made this evening to the board, and this meeting is adjourned.